I just came across this post and I thought I'd want to share it with you. So let's dig into it. Lukash, the forgotten father of Stalker's monsters, XGSC revisits the visionary artist behind the zone's horrors. 18 years after the original Stalker game, the eerie zone and its grotesque inhabitants continue to captivate players. Among the creative minds who helped shape that unsettling world was concept artist Viktor Marchevsky. In this republished feature from XGSC, we delve into the legacy of the brilliant designer whose imagination helped define the world of Stalker, and whose career was tragically cut short. There are people among the concept artists whose imagination goes beyond human limitations. You look at their works and think, these guys are crazy, maybe they're on drugs or something. For example, Geoff Darrow's sketches for The Matrix are close to that of a drug addict's hallucinations. Just think of the mechanics and robotic technology drawn to the smallest detail. But it's not about substance misuse, it's about artists that have a really vast imagination, and it's deeply stunning. There is exactly that type of a creator in the development team of Stalker, but he was better known as Lukash. Pseudo-giant, bloodsucker, pseudo-dog, flesh, chimera, and other representatives of the zone's wildlife came out from his pen. We knew almost nothing about Viktor for a long time, and he remained a mystery man for the general public. I guess any self-respecting Stalker fan will be interested to know who was the author of all these unforgettable images that still excite the minds of gamers. While working on this article, I had a chance to chat with Lukash's younger brother, Artem Marchevsky, and his colleagues in the game industry, Denis Volchenko, Yaroslav Singayevsky, and Dmitry Dyachenko. Great thanks to them. Before starting, I'd like to explain the origin of Viktor's nickname. The last name of his father was Lukashenko, and later he changed it to Marchevsky, but Viktor chose to use the previous last name as his nickname. Artem says, Vitya was a great brother. He was exactly as an older brother should be. Actually, the older brother takes part in raising a child just like parents. There was a big age difference between the brothers, 14 years. Therefore, Viktor was the authority for him. Obviously, the parents were influential too, but the older brother is a different case. Of course, as a teenager, I was interested in talking to people who were older than me, because the difference of 14 years doesn't feel like an older generation in a teenager's perception. Vitya was not just an example, he was a mentor. And his methods of raising were often much more effective than parental. For example, when Viktor found out his younger brother started smoking, Artem was not afraid of what he could tell their parents. He was afraid that Viktor was going to kill him, but at the same time, he was always a defender. Next to him, you feel as safe as behind an impenetrable wall. Everyone in school knew that, so teenage disputes were rare. They were afraid. Vitya's relationships with parents were good too. He was proud of them. He could talk to mom about everything in the world, from art to everyday topics. He always consulted with father, considering him a wise and smart person. The easiest way to describe the relationship with parents: we lived in the same building, Vitya on the 9th floor in apartment 33, and me with parents on the 8th in apartment 32. Absolutely identical apartments, but with a mirror reflection of the layout. Vitya showed his talent as a child. No one ever taught him to draw, it was given to him. Just like that, this talent was given to him from above. Naturally, the parents noticed that and in every way encouraged him. Vitya's craving for art was shown not only in drawing. He was always interested in exploring philosophy, for example. Actually, Vitya was read in many different topics. You could talk to him on any topic for hours. After graduating from school, Vitya enlisted in the army. During his time in the army, he learned tattooing and made a tattoo on his left hand. After leaving the army, Vitya brought home a hand-drawn icon. Dennis says, it's hard to talk about it, but Lukash really was a cool artist and friend. He wasn't a simple person. You should see and hear him to understand what kind of person he is. In 3 words: charismatic, cheerful, living. Dennis met Vitya in 1995 at training courses to get into the Academy of Arts. After graduating from the university, Dennis ended up at GSC in 2002 and recommended his friend as an artist for the studio. In fact, from this point, Lukash was part of the game dev industry. Vitya had worked at Deep Shadows, Action Forums, and with me on You Are Empty. It should be noted that Vitya made the first sketches for the game, which were an instrumental part in the successful launch of the project at the Russian Game Developers Conference. Also, he introduced me to Yaroslav Singayevsky, who later joined the development of You Are Empty as a writer and game designer. Yaroslav says, Lukash didn't work together with the team. He made concept arts in the pre-production and the beginning of production. Yaroslav and Vitya knew each other. Their fathers often interacted at work. Actually, Viktor set me up with Dennis at that time, and I ended up in the game industry. He remained in my memory as a valiant guy. He was so tough, tall, and strong. I would never say by his looks that he could draw so well. I mean, his looks had nothing to do with drawing, and he was really cool at drawing. It was hard to implement his images in the game, a lot was lost on the way. Artem says, if we talk about my attitude to Vitya's art, then it's very simple. Working as an artist was always prestigious. My teenage years fell in the rap culture boom that is difficult to imagine without graffiti and tattoos. Now imagine your brother can do tattoos and draw really cool. And imagine your brother draws the characters for video games that all your age mates are playing. I was super proud of him. My friends were coming over to visit me and I bragged about Vitya's sketches for them. I still can't understand where Vitya got so much imagination to create these monsters for STALKER. His idea has never ended. By the way, you can see Lukash's face in Shadow of Chernobyl. It's a character named Lukash. He's the leader of the Freedom faction at the army warehouses. That was until the build 2571, but in the release game, Viktor's face was given for the character named Max. Viktor originally drew only pencil sketches on paper. Later he learned Photoshop, bought a graphical tablet, and started to draw high-grade illustrations in color. Vitya took an active part in the development of You Are Empty, including voice acting. Many monsters were voiced by him. Dmitry Dyachenko knew Viktor Marchevsky a long time. Their buildings were close, and their mutual friend was Mandelstam, i.e. Dennis. Dmitry says, we got along great, and when visiting a club or something else, it was peaceful at heart, because Lukash had such a menacing, almost bandit look that people avoided all of us. Actually, he was a nice guy from a good and strong family, a very creative person. His sketches blew my mind. Lukash was a genius artist with a lot of ideas, and only a small part of it came to life. Lukash had a great voice with a cool tone. At the first opportunity Dmitry asked him to take part in voicing the firefighter from You Are Empty, he immediately accepted. Because Lukash was on topic, he created and drew the game characters, he understood the task very well. It was necessary to voice with no words, no phrases, something generic and specific. As always, Lukash arrived at our office in his favorite car, a black Volga. I gave him the gas mask, he put it on and worked in dozens of takes without taking off his long black leather coat. He tried very hard and played his guts out. And here's what we made. In the early development of You Are Empty, Viktor helped Dmitry to voice the first track for the game's soundtrack. It was a test task for the composer. For some time I was looking for a suitable scream. I chose different samples but none would fit, until I got the idea to ask Lukash. Several takes and we got just what we needed, a crazy scream the microphone barely withstood. I joined the Digital Spray Studios with this track and then the promotional teaser was created based on this theme. Vitya's looks absolutely didn't match his activity, he looked like some kind of bandit. There are a lot of different funny stories caused by his looks. Artem says, we once went on vacation by car to Bulgaria. Just before this trip, Vitya changed his looks. He shaved his head and began growing his beard. He really looked like some kind of Islamist. Of course, the photo in his passport was different, with hair on the head and no beard. Bulgarian customs didn't want to pass him. They didn't find similarities with the photo in the passport, so Vitya had to shave his beard in the bathroom of the border checkpoint, and they allowed him to pass. Dmitry says, there's a funny thing from life. One day, Lukash gave a lift to a guy in his Volga. He was engaged in private transportation. The dude initially didn't want to get in the car, but Lukash smiled with a heart. Come on, get in, everything is fine. Lukash was dressed in the same black leather coat. It was his main outfit in winter. And the pistol was between the front seats. It was a gas pistol, if I'm not mistaken, and some amount of money under it. They were riding for 10 minutes. The dude was visibly nervous. As they got there, the dude handed him the money. Lukash turned on the light in the car to find change. Noticing the pistol, the dude realized he was in trouble. Perhaps he connected all the dots that were him on the way. Black Volga, the bandit in the leather coat, the driver's voice, and the golden bracelet on his arm. So he quickly got out of the car and said, no need for this. Keep the change, thank you. I guess he was happy that Lukash decided to keep him alive. Vitya was a person with a strong sense of justice by his nature. He had never accepted a lie. Money was never an influential argument for him in anything. Vitya always was the life and soul of the party. He had a special sense of humor, his jokes were never sick, even obviously hurtful things from his lips sounded absolutely not. He could beat any situation. Vitya always avoided conflicts. Even if he surpassed the aggressor in physical strength, he did everything to avoid a fight. Unfortunately, Vitya had a bad heart since childhood. Artem says, by and large, I grew up when Vitya passed away. I was only 17 at the time of his death. He was very stubborn, and like any man, he didn't really like to take care of his health, always the health of loved ones, but not his own. July 31st, 2005, the day of his death, was scorching heat, about 35 degrees centigrade in the shade. Vitya felt bad all day. Me and my parents were outside the city. Mom talked on the phone with Vitya all the time. We wanted to come and take him to the dacha. Vitya said he had to finish the job. We agreed that we'll come in the morning. About 9 or 10 a.m., me and my father came for him, but it was too late. Medic said Vitya had a stroke and perhaps an infarction. His heart couldn't take the heat. Dimitri says, 6 months before Lukash's death, Mandelstrom gave him a digitizer, and I was lucky to see his works. He drew only with a pencil or pen before that. Great opportunities opened up for Lukash, and what I saw was something incredible. I sincerely expressed my admiration for Lukash. I can only imagine how he could draw right now. I heard that Lukash was offered to work in the USA, but he declined it. Who knows, maybe if he had taken an offer and went. Perhaps all of this would not happen. I think he would have been saved. It's been 10 years since Viktor Marchevsky, aka Lukash, left our world, and it's really cool that he is still remembered. It's touching to hear kind words about You Are Empty, though the game is dedicated to Vitya and it was released a long time ago. I think he would be happy too. The original concept arts for the first Stalker drawn on paper by Viktor, preserved for 23 years, still hangs on the walls of the GSC office. I'm glad that despite all the time and life's changes, they were preserved in safety. They are a great value for me and proof that it's possible to create a masterpiece with an ordinary pencil.